it wouldn't be a new year without another new power fantasy, which is of course the anime type we will be discussing in this one. To be precise, yes, we are looking over episode 1 and 2 of Even Given the Worthless Appraiser class, I'm actually the strongest. Now, if that title sounded basic and made the anime sound pretty mid, yes, that's basically what it is so far. But let's dive in and try to explain. So, from the first 2 episodes, I have to say that, yeah, it's another power fantasy. The animation, as you can already tell, it's not terrible, but yeah, you can see the budget isn't the highest on this one. It's adequate, it's okay, but nothing to marvel about. As with most power fantasy and general fantasy worlds, we get to learn that, yeah, our MC, he's the Appraiser class, which is a low common class. It's a not desirable class, right? It's not a combat class like a warrior or a mage or even like a special class like strategist or whatever. And you have these 3 different tiers that a person can be born into based on what class the goddess of light gives him. And then you also get skills ? Going off of what the goddess of night or darkness gives you, though that doesn't seem overly explained, but we'll go with that. Before we go more into the power fantasy aspects of this anime though, I want to just highlight one specific part of episode 1, specifically the portion of the episode where we start out, the prelude, so to speak, where our MC is abused comically by the absolutely cardboard cutout antagonist characters. Now, yes, I understand that even if these characters are only in it for 10 minutes, you don't want to bother with making them more complex. But what they did in episode 1 here with these starting 2 party members being so absolutely basic and humoristically evil almost with how over the top they are, can be a good prelude or precursor to how the rest of the show is going to be. It's not uncommon, though regrettably so, but often, especially in power fantasy anime or anime that are not necessarily the most original or unique, you get character types, archetypes, or tropes that are extremely over the top or just unoriginal and basic. And that's what we get with these 2 starting party members that our MC is in. He's literally abused, he's kicked, he's spat on, he's forced to do the most horrible, disgusting jobs in that party just so he can make a living because of his low class. But even if these other party members that have the higher combat class, being an uncommon class and whatnot, you can still have made them generally slightly less just caricatures of themselves and still had the point come across. Like the anime literally made them as cardboard cutouts as they can be of just being douchebags. Every single thing they said, every single thing they did highlighted just how evil and bad people they were, or are in this case. Up to and including trying to sacrifice our MC to run away. And also being generally retarded in terms of not clearly taking the warning signs of, hey, this isn't a good idea, let's go back. Instead of doing all this extremely over-the-top caricatures of, let's say, antagonistic characters, they could have gotten the point across with doing much more simple yet effective things. And then also use that time to have a bit of back and forth between the MC and these characters to get some background story maybe from him or get some information out of the exchange. But no, it's just incredibly basic. And that's when our MC starts running away for his life after the others try to sacrifice him and he jumps Sudoku style off a cliff thinking he will die. But of course, it's not the end because, well, that would be a 10-minute anime, so that's not happening. Instead, he ends up falling into the world tree something where he is healed by the healing waters of the magic, mana, world tree, etc. And shortly after this is when he gets his montage going. He gets a new eye to appraise things with, spirit eye, and that's basically how we start this power fantasy journey with episode 1 and 2, with episode 2, the end of it, basically being the start of the story, so to speak, after he's done his montage setup.
We're gonna need a montage. Ooh, it takes a montage.
and done some, months training doing XYZ. Now he is, somewhat powerful. And inevitably he's going to go into the real world again now after this training session, and everyone's going to say sugoi and wow, and we'll have another grand fantasy time. But everything so far with the power fantasy aspects haven't really grabbed me. Outside of the character being basic so far, and generally the plot and story being very basic so far, and the backstory being very basic so far, and the characterization being very basic so far, the whole spirit eye super appraise concept isn't the most exciting. I mean, I do suppose that the only interesting part of it that I thought was like maybe interesting, that can have potential, yeah, it's the super appraise ability, which is basically the gimmick that lets him become uber powerful. Because he can appraise whatever skill an enemy monster has, or person, I guess, and then copy that onto himself. So he can literally just copy anything, which of course naturally means that eventually, once he's fought, tens of thousands of monsters or people or whatnot, he will be literally unkillable. He'll be God, more or less anyway. While that concept isn't too interesting, I do like the thought experiment of, okay, I would like the anime with this concept to maybe try explore a bit of, okay, how can he use every skill he gets in a strategic, smart way in his next engagement? He has super speed. Okay, how can you utilize super speed to his advantage in the next conflict? Okay, he has like X magic spell, like he copied fireballs and whatnot. How can he utilize specific skills he learns or copies to then win his next fight? If he uses that in a smart, intelligent, strategic way, episode to episode, I think that might be kind of interesting and I might enjoy that. But if he just randomly starts spouting off attacks and he just wins because he's powerful and doesn't utilize any strategy or uses his brain at all, yeah, this is going to be a pretty brainless power fantasy, which is fine, I suppose, but people like me still hope for a bit more, Another ending note here, though, that I was a bit curious about, because in this world, apparently, one goddess gives you a job, another gives you skills, and then you can enhance those skills and get new abilities based on those skills. But since our MC here copied basically the class of mage to cast fireballs, sure, he had to train his mana capacity and whatnot, but then he also was able to cast a new type of magic after this training montage. So does that mean in this world that if you just have the base class, or you have a skill, like a base skill from a certain class, then you're able to learn new abilities in that class? Or how does that even work? I don't know. I would like the anime to explain that more. Thank you, but I doubt we will get too much into the exact systems, sadly. Anyhow though, moving on. If you are enjoying the video or getting any value out of this, or would like to see me cover more of this anime, do please remember to like and subscribe. It greatly helps out the channel, so thank you. Now, it's clear after the first 2 episodes that this show is on the humoristic side. It's on the funny, non-serious side. Like, this anime has no fiber of seriousness in it so far, which has become apparent with, well, everything I'll talk about next. First of all, apparently I thought goddess, but no, the soul of the world tree. She knew what dangers was out there in the end of episode 1. Still let our boy, our MC, walk off into all these S-rank monsters and literally be tortured to death before being brought back and healed. Which, either means this girl is a masochist or, yeah, I don't know what they were going for with that. On that point as well, it seems to me that this anime sort of does more than most similar power fantasy, where they showcase our MC, being hurt and, seriously hurt and almost killed in various ways, in more detail than most others in the same genre, yet they still make light of it. I mean, sure, yeah, of course, they don't, laugh off or have a laughing track when he's losing his eye, but it's like, this could be way more serious and grandiose, if you wanted it to be, but it's generally just taken as a pretty aloof, non-serious thing, even in those cases. And the show doesn't take itself too seriously in terms of being realistic either. And yes, when I say realistic, I know this is an anime, it's a power fantasy, I know. But being, let's say, more realistic in terms of, yeah, this is a human. And first of all, in episode 1, these wolves or dogs, whatever, literally, I think, chewed over every single major artery he had. He would have bled to death in 10 seconds flat. There's no way he would have been able to walk that far without fainting or dying of blood loss. And then with the bear, I guess he was saved, so it's fine. But still then he would have been bleeding out in seconds, basically, with all the damage he had. Or every single bone in his body was broken beyond repair, being crushed. But I guess with magic water, anything can be healed. But still, I would have liked this anime to be a bit more serious in terms of taking into account all of these things, to not make it overly silly in those cases. Outside of that, though, they have multiple shticks going here in terms of like, especially the mother-daughter, like world tree soul thing. That whole mother-daughter shtick, I don't really appreciate much. It's not funny to me, but they have that going, and they try to make jokes out of it and try to make it funny, I think. Though for me, it doesn't really land too much at all, and I would be fine without it. And after that, of course, we get into the training arc I mentioned earlier in episode 2, where the mother, quote-unquote, decides to keep teaching or training our MC so he can get out of the labyrinth he's in and survive because she loves her daughter, aka soul of the world tree, etc., etc. But the training, it almost feels like, American montage, Might insert that clip, by the way. It just feels like, okay, few weeks gone by, learn a new skill, few months gone by, learn this. Like, just as the show itself explains, like, beat for beat. Like, yeah, I trained for a few months, and after I caught the fireball skill, I can now cast, like, 1,000 fireballs at once. Like, huh? Well, that developed quickly. Okay, I guess. Sure, dude. Even more so than that, when the anime is showing the MC after he copies the super speed skill from this S-rank gremlin monster, he starts trying to run, right? But of course, every muscle and the fiber in his body breaks because his body can't handle it. And the anime makes light and fun off of it, being like, yeah, you just have to run over and over and over again and break every muscle and fiber and bone in your body countless, like hundreds and thousands of times, because you'll be healed and survive until your body can actually handle the strain. I mean, sure, that's funny, I guess, but damn. Do you realize that in reality, this is torture beyond all recognition? Literally having to force yourself to run in this super speed whatnot until every single fiber and muscle and bone in your body breaks, which can only be immeasurably painful beyond all thought and reason. Having to do that hundreds or thousands of times to yourself, willingly. It's like, holy shit, this guy must be mentally insane if he's willing to do that. But the anime, again, just shrugs it off as being more funny, comedic. Haha, look what he has to go through. Again, I would have really liked if the anime took this more seriously. Like, didn't make light of every single thing, but still had moments of, ah shit, this is like no joke. This is serious, this has some gravitas, and also reflect that in the dialogue. But no, the dialogue is just more jokey, funny, non-serious, especially between the MC and the mother character here. And that just dulls the show down even more for me. It just makes it feel very lackluster and not something I can be overly engaged with. I mean, sure, it's not unheard of, it's not uncommon for power fantasy, or isekai too, though this is not, but it's not uncommon for power fantasy anime to be more silly and fun and not overly serious, but in most cases, I don't think that's really good. Sure, for example, you can say that I love animes like The Eminence in Shadow because I think the humor is amazing and I love the sort of self-irony they have and self-awareness they have. But even there, when the show is clearly trying to be more on the fun, comedic side, making fun of itself more than anything else, it still has serious moments, which you can really appreciate. But here it just seems that they really want to go for this silly, fun route and not really take anything seriously. And that just means people like me, even the ones that love power fantasy like I do, it's my favorite genre, it just makes it seem pretty dull in comparison to what it could be, in my opinion at least. But still, I suppose it's only 2 episodes in. We'll have to see where it goes from here, but I'm not overly enthused by what might come after these first 2 episodes. Anyhow though, what are your thoughts on this anime? Like it, hate it, leave all those thoughts below in the comment section. Sorry for rambling, by the way, having a bit of an off day, not being too focused. We'll make sure to be more focused next time. That being said, hope you have a good day, keep watching anime, and I will see you next time. Bye bye.